as promised, here's a view of the layout that this process video will be about, just so that you can have a look at the photographs and everything else. I will be doing a show and tell of all the papers and the ephemera that I've used as well before we make the cards. We will make the cards from start to finish, so that you'll have the full layout done if you follow this process video. Please don't forget to subscribe and like my channel, as that way you will get a notification when I put new layouts up for you. So let's get on with making our cards. So here's the paper selection that I've used. I have used 3 of the sheets from Chiabella's Under the Tuscan Sun, and as you can see, I've used a lot of this green side. With this sheet here, I've used most of the sort of it looks like a Hessian actually, and then this one here I've used the 2 bottom pieces here of the florals, and I've used this piece up here as well with this, and I have cut out most of the larger poppies and etc, because I do want to use this for a Christmas theme. So I've decided instead of the holly and things like that, I'd use the red poppies. I didn't have enough of sort of spludgy papers, as you know I call them, all over pattern print. So I have actually made my own, put some stamps down and some inks and etc, just to give me a bit of colour to use. Now with the Hessian, I've actually used the virtually like a texture paste, which I've put on a stencil here, and I've used a beautiful stencil that you can see there, and I've used the small one as well. So what I did is I cut all my pieces and then laid my stencil on to get the full benefit of the bits I wanted. I have used some beautiful sort of olive green cardstock with white for the photo mats, and here I've cut some lovely leaves from a die from 5 Crazy Ladies, and they're absolutely gorgeous to use. And I've used the heartfelt flower stamps with some coloured leaves as well. So I've got about 8 of the big, 6 of the medium and 4 of the smalls with those, and I've just thrown in a couple of journaling cards as well with this layout. So now I've shown you all the papers and everything, we'll get on the cards. Our first card, number 1, is quite a simple card. I've just cut from the green card a 6x4, and then in the olive cardstock I've cut a 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. Now I do use an awful lot of the 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 photo cards, so that you can fit a true 3x4 photograph on there. Because this has got some bright colours, I thought it would probably be better to have larger photographs so they really pop on the layout. I've used one of the larger flowers, a medium, couple of leaves, and I've cut a piece from the sheet I made, which is 3 1/2 by 1 1/8, so it just fits down the bottom of the card like that with the photo mat on the top. So we will put our photo mat first, and then we will put this down after. So the first thing we need to do is I've distressed all the edges of my card with your ground espresso, with a dauber and just gone around the edges just to give it a bit of an edge there. Now this card here we are going to put centered onto our card. So I just take the tape off, and don't forget you don't need to use that much tape because you're actually putting them into a folder, so it will keep everything intact. So just put that onto your card centered. Then you will pop your photo card. This will be 1/4 of an inch from the top. I will measure again, so just bring that down until you get an even border around your card, and that works out at 1/4 of an inch. Then you will take your piece of card that you have cut, and that should fit exactly in the bottom with a tiny border all the way around. So we're going to pop that on mounting tape, and I've edged around the edges, making sure that I've got print running all different ways, so I could use this piece that I made anyway. So when I did my stamping with this, I actually run my stamping all different ways, upside down, all sorts of things. So when you were cutting your pieces, you could actually use them anyway. There's no particular right way. Now what we're going to do now is lay our flowers down, and I'm going to prise some of these leaves off. Now I'm going to lay 2 of those flowers, and I'm going to raise this one up just slightly, and I'm going to decide on a word to pop here. Now I've just put my smile word there. I've got my leaves there, so I'm going to just glue my leaves down. And pop. Now with your flower, just give it a bit of a crease so it's not so flat, to give you a bit of dimension. I tend to sort of screw mine up a bit, and then I just flatten them out. Now this one I have decided I'm going to put on a bit of foam tape. There we have card 1 done. Card number 2's construction is once again one of the green cards, 6x4. I've done in the olive green is a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 photo mat for a 3x4 white mat, which of course we are going to put onto that card centered. So we'll do that first because it is easier. So we pop that right into the middle, ready for mounting. Now I've cut from my self-made paper a strip of card which I want to go down the side. Now I'm going to turn this card like that. There we go. So we'll pop this down on the side with a centered on the left hand side with an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Then our photo card will go down in the bottom with a 1/4 of an inch border all the way around. Now I've put my tape down here because I'll be tucking things in from the top, and it just makes it easier for you. And you can actually see the card is starting to take shape now. And I've got one of those leaves, I've just done the top bit, and I've got my flower. Now my flower I'm going to tuck in and pop a bit over the top. And I'm going to strip these leaves off singly. And pop a bit of glue on them. And feather them out. And I've put my flower just off center. Once again, I'll just put a bit of glue, poke it under, and pop my other leaf there's card 2 complete. Now this is card 3, so I have got a 6x4 in your white cardstock, and then I cut from this sheet here one of these bottom pieces here of the really coloured card, and that is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, just to give you that small border all the way around. So we're going to tape that down and place that card centered onto the white cardstock so that you get a white border on your card. Now I have cut a piece of green cardstock, and the green cardstock is 3 inches. Let me just check that. Yep, 3 inches by 5.5 inches. Now this is the piece of card that was cut from this sheet here. Now I am running it downwards, and this is the texture paste that I've used on the cardstock, and I didn't do the whole sheet. I actually cut my card and then did my stencil so that I could actually place my stencil exactly where it would best suit my layout. Now this piece of stencil is 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. Yeah, it's 5 1/4 and this goes onto this card, and I've distressed around the edges. So that you've got your border that runs across. Now this particular card now will go centered to the right of your card, and you need some of the blue showing, so you're covering the heaviest of the red over, and place that on the right hand side. Now the reason why I don't want the red here is because I'm going to be using building up my layering, and if you had red here, it would, all of this would just mute in. So now I want my flowers and things just popped onto your card so that you see your nice now I've just had a malfunction with my camera, so I'll just go to explain that you actually lay your flowers down, and then I put my greenery down the bottom, and then I put my little leaves in. Now I've just crunkled my flowers up by actually getting a pencil and just poking them over the top of a pencil, mush them up a bit, and then straighten them out, and that gives you a little bit of movement with your flowers. And then I have just put on some tape here, and they're dots, but they're only half the size of foam tape. When you actually have a look at the size, you can actually see that half the size, and they're fantastic to have for when you want a little bit of depth but not too much. So I've just raised that one flower to give me a bit of depth, and I've left up the top here. You can actually pop a bit of I'll tear a piece to show you, just a bit up like that with a white tag with the year or Christmas Day or whatever, if you want to put Christmas Day here, if you're using this as a Christmas layout. So there is card number 3 finished. Okay, this is card number 4. Very simple card. You've got your 6x4 in your white. You then have in your olive card a 3 7/8 by 5 7/8, and that will give you just a very, very tiny border all the way around your card. So you put that down centered. Now your photo mat is 4 5/8 by 3 5/8. So you would get yourself your 6x4 photograph, and then you would cut it slightly down to give you your photo mat. And there we have all of our 6x4 cards done for our layout. Now these are our small 3x4 cards. They're very, very easy. So all I've cut is a 3x4 of my green, 3x4 of my olive, a 3 7/8 by 2 7/8 in the olive green, and 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 to build up my layers. And then you can use your normal 3x4 and just chop off enough that it fits into that square. And the same goes for this one. Just have your 3x4 and chop a little bit off so you've got a little bit of your white showing on your photograph. So how we do that is we just very easily just build up our cards by centering them. So you're just virtually stacking them on top. There's card 5B. There's no inking or anything else. And this card is a 3 7/8 by 2 7/8. And there we have card 5B and 5D. Okay, now we're going to do our eye candy 3x4 cards that don't have photographs. Now, a little hint here, with this paper here, I have used the greenie back, but you need to make sure that from the top corner you cut this bit of floral, because you'll need that for this card here. And what I've done to give a difference for these two cards here, instead of just using the greeny coloured back, I have actually used the reverse, so you do need some floral for that. So that's where I've cut those two cards from. Unfortunately, I made a mistake, so I had to cut another card, so I've just used one with a bit of floral on it. These cards are fairly easy. I'll start off with card 5A, which of course has got your 3x4. Now I have cut from my white cardstock a 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, so it has that tiny little border all the way around. It's just to make this card pop a little bit. Because I've used a lot of greens and it's sort of just sort of your reds and your greens, I've had to sort of think outside the box and try and get some layering in to make my cards pop. Now this one here, which was cut from the green as well, and I've distressed the edges quite heavily, is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and that will give you just that little bit of pop behind. And as you can see, it is actually giving you a foundation to build on. Now I have cut from that like bamboo-y paper, and I've done my stenciling on there, and this is 2 inches by 2 1/2 inches. Now always make sure that it is running diagonally down your page so it all follows through. Now what I am going to do here is I'm going to put this over this side of the paper and center it to give you your borders, and then we will start layering our flowers. So I'll put the top up there. Now I'm going to split my greenery again. And then I'm going to put some of the greenery down the bottom. Maybe my cluster here. Once again, just give it a bit of a workout with a pencil. Sort of screwing them up. There we have it. Okay, so then I want that one there. I'll pop this one underneath, and I'll just bring them across slightly to soften the edge of the stenciling. I'll pop my underneath, and when you've got it, you're reasonably happy with it, then you can actually start by holding down the main part. Take the bottom piece out first, and then sort of slide it underneath till you're happy. And then take your darker green foliage and attach that. once again I am going to use one of my little half mounts. Pop that on top. And once again put my last leaf, tuck it underneath. If you're not happy, you've got enough time to move with that glue. There we have card 5A done. Now this is another simple one. Once again, this card here is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, so that you get that fine little border working around again. So just attach this floral, making sure that your flowers are the right way. Then you bring down your flowers scrunch them up. There we have it. So with this one, I would put your little, because you've got lots of florals, I'd put this one flat and then build the other ones up. So I'm going to put these on straight away. Then I'm going to just pop some of these leaves in. Like that. Once you're a little bit happy with your arrangement, you can pop your leaves in. Then I'd put your smaller ones in. And because you've got the floral in the back, it is a very easy card to do. And once again, attach your half mount, the back of the big one. And there you have, very quickly, your two eye candy cards done and one complete side of your layout finished. We're going to go on to our right hand side of our layout. Now this is card number 6 and I've got my 6x4 in my white. I have got my 5 3/4 by 3 3/4 of the very florally paper, which is this one down here I have cut. So we are going to attach that, and I've distressed around the edges as normal. And we're just going to lay that centered. Now this card has quite a bit of layering that I do. I have now got a piece of white cardstock again, which is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. Now I won't attach this yet because I have got a piece of my cut paper which is a 3x4, which I'm going to lay onto that white cardstock. I've distressed around the edges again with this, and that is going to be centered onto that card. Then I have got a piece of the olive green which is going to go here, and this is 2 7/8 by 2 1/8. And this is what I class as an eye candy card again, because it doesn't have a photograph on it. So we'll pop that down, centered again, but on the right hand side. And on this I've done my stenciling again towards the one side, because I'm going to have all florals here. So we'll attach that, and I have distressed the edges of this again. And as you can tell, I have used the small stencil, this small stencil on the side of my stencil. So we're going to just pop that into its little green mat. Then this whole card then can be attached to the base card over here with a quarter of an inch border that you can see with the extra florals. Now once this is all laid down, you've actually got your base card to layer all the fun stuff. So once again we're going to put the big green leaf here, our poppy flowers, I'm going to poke one there, and then the white roses, which I'm just going to mush up. There we go. Straighten them out a bit, it just gives them a bit of body. Okay, once you're happy with your layout, if you want those leaves to come out a little bit more, maybe I'll take some off and put some on this side as well. Okay, I'm going to start attaching this down with some glue. Some greenery. If your leaf won't fit, just push it up until it does. there we have our eye candy card, which if you have a look at the other side, you can actually see it does match up, and it just gives you continuity to your layout to have some of your cards the opposite to mirror the other side of your layout. And there's card number 6 done. Okay, on to card number 7. Now this one's quite an easy one too. You just need your 6x4 of your made paper, which comes from the bottom, so it has plenty of sort of the flowers and bits and bobs. I also have a 3 3/4 square and a 3.5 by 3.5 of the Hessian paper, which I've done my stenciling on, which will be centered onto your olive green cardstock. Now I've distressed the edges of this as normal. Now this will go onto the right hand side, centered towards the right with just an 1/8 of an inch border. Making sure, I nearly didn't do it right, that your Hessian is going diagonally. So now we have our photo mat, which is a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, so you can fit a true 3x4 photo. As I said, I've done a few of these in this layout. Now that goes once again an 1/8 of an inch from the edge on your left hand side, centered right in the middle here. Then all we're going to do is once again quickly just gunge up our flowers. I've got a couple of leaves there, tear one off, so I've only got 3. And I'm going to put, because I've got a bare patch up here, I'm going to put my flowers at the top, and I'm going to raise this one. So I'm just going to pop my little dot on the bottom, ready to go. And then I will glue my leaves down. Put my bottom flower in, and then on the top of that just pop. There we have card 7 done, and I think that leaf needs to be tucked a bit further underneath. There we have it. This is card 8. Once again, it has just a bit of layering, not much to it. So all we have is our 6x4 in the green, which I've distressed the edges. I have got here for my printed paper a piece that is 3 1/4 by 2 7/8, and to border that I've got 3.5 by 3. So what we can do is layer this up first before we put it onto the card. Decide which way you want your prints to go. I think I like mine that way. Now I have got my piece of card here, and I haven't cut this down to size properly yet, and I want this to go let's layer this up correctly before I cut it wrong. There we are. So what we need to do now is to layer this card onto our base card. Leaving the same amount of border all the way around. And this piece here, which I've distressed, which is 1 inch by 3 1/8, that will give you a little tiny strip building your borders up. Now your photo mat is a 3 by 4, which will just go on your card here. Once again, 1/8 of an inch from the left hand side. Now I've left room underneath here, so that I just want one of my little poppies with a little bit of foliage tucked in like that. So once I'm happy with that, I will just pop my glue onto my ephemera. Tuck that underneath. Get my glue on my poppy. And get my foliage tucked up underneath. There we have card 8 complete. Now card number 9 is really easy. It's just a repeat of what you did for card number 4 with the same cutting dimensions. Now we're going to do 10A and 10B. Because in Australia we're having hard to get our small pocket pages, I've done this on a 6x4 card so that we can get the folders that we have available to us over here. So what I've done, I'm using that as my backing card, but I will make them like they're 3x4 cards so that the rest of our album will be the same. So what I've got here is from my piece of paper that I made. I've cut a 2 7/8 by 3 7/8 piece, just a little bit smaller than the 3x4, so that we can have that tiny border all the way around. Now I have got a 3x4 here in the olive, so that goes over the whole of the other side. Now you probably should have put this card on second so that you can just get that into place. Once we've got that on, we can attach our photo mat, which is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, and that goes smack bang centered into our photo slot. Now how we're going to build this one up for 10A, I've got my ephemera here, And I've got a lovely little journaling card here called Moment Like This. So I'm just going to attach this up in the top right hand corner. Now with this, I'm just going to, on the side, the bottom of this, just build up my flowers. So I've got my poppies here, I've got my big flower, which once again I will just whoosh, a little bit of greenery, so I'm just going to tuck that underneath. Just like that. So once you're happy with your where everything is situated, just need to pop some glue. Very quickly you have your little journaling card to put some of your information in, and your picture card as well. And it does look like your 3x4s side by side. Now I've got a confession with this card. I was going to do this card here, but I decided it was too much journaling on one side, so I'm going to swap over 5C and put that here as 10C, and then this card is going over into 5C slot. So that's the beauty of this system, we can sort of swap things around. So what I have done, I made the card to go this way. We are just going to tilt it, and it is going straight on to this card here, and as soon as I've finished this part of the card, I will actually put the construction of this card in the next little video that follows on from this section, which will be self-explanatory on how this is done. So just ignore when it says that it's for card 5C, because we are now going to use it as 10C. So there it goes onto my white backing card. Now I'll just explain this side, and then we'll go on with the making of the opposite card here. So this is a 6x4 in your green, and I have got here the same as card 10B, a 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, and that goes in the center to pop your photograph on. And there we have our full side done once you complete the opposite card here for 10C. Okay, we're doing card 5C, and this has got a 3x4 in your green, and I've distressed the edges, and then from your made paper I've just cut a small square which is 1.5 by 2.5. I've distressed the edges of that, and I'm just going to pop that over on the left hand side, centered with a border just around. Now this little book I'm going to make that it looks like it's open, and how I've done that is I've put 2 small pieces of double-sided tape on one side and flat on the other. Now just before I attach my mounted pieces, I'm going to pop it sort of down in the bottom corner of the page like that, and then that gives you a look like the book is actually open. Now underneath that, just to introduce some red, I'm going to pop that a cut out poppy. It just needed a little bit of red there. So I'm just going to pop the little bit of poppy underneath. Now with my flowers down here, I want the flowers to sort of cascade onto the book. So I am going to attach my leaves first. I'm just going to fold them underneath each other, hold them till they take. Now I'm not going to add any foam to these at all, because you want your book to actually stand out. So I'm just going to attach them a little bit on the book page, and then take off the tape. And that actually, I know you can't really see it here, but it actually gives you, you can actually see that little bit of raised. So when you actually look, it gives you a false illusion of depth. And then you can do some journaling here as well, or put your title or whatever you want. So there is card 5C and your one side of your layout finished. Now I'm just going to add a little bit to card number 6, because I decided it looked a bit funny just having this area here. So I'm just going to put one of the small little poppies in, some extra leaves, a medium daisy, and tuck the small daisy underneath. It's just the fact that I didn't have anything on this bamboo area and it looked a bit odd. So I'm just adding a few little extra flowers and that to card number 6. Well, here's the finished layout done. I hope you followed this process video from start to finish. And until the next one, keep crafting. Bye.